Hey guys, Smitty here with Just Piddlin Barbecue. Today we're going to be cooking inside. It's starting to become some fall weather, I hope. And with that becomes time for some chilies, some soups, and some stews. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing a Southern Brunswick stew. It's going to be my recipe that I'm going to share with you guys. So stay tuned. Now this is my recipe that I'm going to be sharing with you guys, and stews are kind of like chilies and soups and all of that stuff. Everybody has their own versions. If you have your own version, do it the way you like. But I'm going to share my version. I've eaten a lot of good Brunswick, good Brunswick stews over the years, but I've eaten a lot of bad Brunswick stews over the years. And it seems like a common thing in the South with barbecue restaurants. A lot of them offer Brunswick stews, and a lot of them aren't very good. I can promise you that this one is great, so give it a try. Let me tell you what you're going to need before you get started. So with this recipe, it makes a lot. I'm actually going to be making 2 pots. If you've got a great big pot that you want to make this whole recipe in, that's fine. But I'm going to be making it in 2 pots, so you can just kind of see what I'm putting in each one of those and adjust accordingly if you just want to make 1 pot. But this whole recipe is going to make 2 huge pots. We like to make a lot of it, and we'll freeze some, put it in the freezer. That way later on, if we want to get some out and have some for supper or something, we don't have to make a whole nother batch. So it's good to go ahead and freeze, put it in the freezer, save it for later. But this is what you're going to need to make the big batch that we're going to make. So you're going to need 3 pounds of pulled pork, 1.5 pounds of ground beef. So that's a total of 4.5 pounds of meat. Now if you want to add some smoked chicken to that, that'd be great as well. I just don't have any, but you could cut back on the ground beef and add smoked chicken or any other kind of meat that you would like in your Brunswick stew. But today we're going to be using 3 pounds of pulled pork and 1.5 pounds of ground beef. You're also going to need 3 cans of corn, 1 bag of frozen peas. That's a 24-ounce bag of green peas. You're going to need 58 ounces of fire-roasted diced tomatoes, 2 cans of Rotel, 1 large jug of hot and spicy V8 juice, 2 finely diced onions, 2 pounds of red potatoes diced, and then I usually put in some of my barbecue sauce. Now you can put in whatever kind of barbecue sauce that you like, but me personally, I think Brunswick stew needs a mustard vinegar based sauce. That's what my barbecue sauce is, and I always add some of that to my Brunswick stew to give it that barbecue flavor. Obviously you're going to want to add some salt and pepper to taste, but let's get into it and I'll show you exactly how I do my Brunswick stew. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put in our onions. Now this is 2 diced onions, so I'm going to put 1 in this pot and 1 onion in this pot. Now with that, I'm going to go ahead and put in about 1.5 pounds, or 2 pounds actually, of diced potatoes. Now I dice these up ahead of time, so they have turned just a tad off-white. I'm just going to half these up in each one of these, but 2 pounds of diced potatoes going in. Now, just like with everything, we want to season as we go, not at the end, because it'll be hard to season all of this stuff once we get to the end. So I'm going to add a little salt and a little pepper to our potatoes and onions. And this is a table grind black pepper. I like a little more coarse black pepper. Get our wooden spoon and stir that up a little bit. And we're going to let those potatoes and onions start getting soft, and then I'll bring you back to the next step. Alright, now that our potatoes and onions have gotten tender, we're going to add 1.5 pounds of ground beef. Now I'm going to divide that up into each one of the pots. But that is 1.5 pounds of ground beef that we're going to go ahead and brown off in our potatoes and onions. Break that up really well in each pot. We're going to brown that up, and then I'll bring you back and see what else we're going to add. Alright, now our ground beef is starting to get brown, but as I said, we're going to season as we go. But because we added some beef, I'm going to add some whiskey bents, the rocks, which is perfect for beef. And it's going to add a little bit of a barbecue note to it as well. So we're going to go in with a little bit of the rocks. Give that a quick stir. And because we've got some stuff on the bottom of the pans, on the bottom of the pots, little bits stuck down there, we're going to introduce a little bit of liquid, and that's going to be in the form of Rotel. I've got 2 cans of Rotel going into this recipe. I'm dividing it in half because I've got 2 pots, so that's 1 can per pot. And I'm going to use that liquid to kind of break up anything on the bottom of these pots. So give that a stir, and I'm going to let that go for about 10 minutes, and then I'll bring you back for the next step. Alright, now we're cooking. Now we got 24 ounces of green peas, and I'm just going to half this bag and go half in there, half in here. Go ahead and stir those up, letting those get soft. And then when they get soft, we'll season those and then add the corn. Alright, so now we're going to add 3 cans of corn. So that means 1 can for that pot, another can for this pot, and then we're going to pretty much half this one up. Now I use canned corn simply because I think the frozen corn doesn't get quite as tender as I want it to, and so I've found that using canned corn does a little bit better. Again, we're going to salt and pepper to taste, and then at the end we're going to give it a final taste to see if the seasoning needs adjusting. A little bit more pepper in there, a little pepper in here. And now we're going to go ahead and add the fire roasted diced tomatoes, and that's what we're looking at there. 2 cans in each pot. I like the fire roasted just because it gives it a extra little depth of flavor. Let's give all that a stir, get all that incorporated. I'm going to let that come together just a little bit, and then we're going to add a little bit more liquid, and then we're going to add what it actually takes to get it to become Brunswick stew and not vegetable soup. Alright, so now we've got the hot and spicy V8 juice. We're going to go in with 64 ounces. Now ordinarily I would half it, but this pot's a little bit bigger than this pot, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. But if you wanted to do 1 pot, then do 32 ounces. But it does keep it a little spicy. But that's kind of what I like about this recipe. Now, some people might ask if I have drained anything. I did not drain the hamburger meat. And I did not. The only thing that I have drained out of this whole recipe is the corn. I drained the corn, and that's it. So let's give that a stir. Now it's come together, but now we're going to add the ingredients that makes this the Brunswick stew and not vegetable soup. Number one, that is the pulled pork. Now this is vacuum sealed leftover pulled pork. Great way to use your leftovers. So I'm just going to half this bag into each one of these pots. Maybe a little bit more in that one. And then the rest in this one. And now I'm just going to break that up into these pots. Before I froze my pulled pork, I did add just a little bit of barbecue sauce. But now to give it that real barbecue Brunswick stew flavor, I've got 1 cup of my barbecue sauce for each one of these pots. Make sure you get your spatula in there and get all that goodness out of there. One cup in this one. Pull it all out. And now you've got all your ingredients for your Brunswick stew. Now you just need to let it cook. Let all those flavors come together. And then at the end, I'm probably going to let this go for probably at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And then at the end, before it's ready to serve, I'm going to give it a good taste, see if the seasoning needs adjusting, and then you're ready to rock. I'll bring you back in about an hour and a half. One of the things I wanted to show you guys is a lot of places that I get Brunswick stew from, they're really runny, they're really loose. Part of the reason is because I think they're trying to save money. But I like a thick, hearty Brunswick stew. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about right there. That's not a soup. That is a thick, hearty stew. And that's what you want in a Brunswick stew. Alright guys, the Brunswick stew's done. Now it's time to see how we did. Really hot. Let's recap what we did. We had some leftover pulled pork that we vacuum sealed, put in the freezer, and we put it to use today with some Brunswick stew, along with a little bit of ground beef. We had some vegetables, green peas, corn, potatoes, onions, along with some canned diced tomatoes, and put it all together with some barbecue sauce, a little bit of V8 juice, hot and spicy, to spice it up a little bit. And now you have a thick, hearty Brunswick stew. Let's give it a try and see how we did. I know it's going to be good because we've made it before, but this is the perfect recipe for the upcoming fall season. That is the ultimate Brunswick stew. It's thick, not too thick, but not soupy. It is a true stew. If you like Brunswick stew and you want a recipe for a good Brunswick stew, give this recipe a try. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification so you're notified when we post new videos. And until next time, we'll be piddling. See you guys.